welcome to Do the Right Thing, your weekly writing prompt podcast. I'm Alexandra.
And I'm Jarvis.
Jarvis and I were aspiring writers with one simple, common problem. We never actually took the time to sit down and write.
Exactly. So to solve this issue, we are issuing a challenge. Each week you sit down and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 randomly generated words.
Then we come on the podcast, we read a story, we talk about what we learned from reading it, and then we talk about the rest of the story sent in by you wonderful listeners.
Exactamundo. We're simply here to help you do the right thing.
Doof Media Production. Excellente.
I am so tired.
Of
school, actually. Classes have been
I'm sorry.
ruining me. It's fine. I mean, I took a heavy workload because I really want to walk the stage come May. And I'll still even have, I think, 2 classes to do after. So it's just growing pains of sort of waiting to get to that moment. But yeah, it's been very busy. I think over the course of this last week, I submitted 3 different essays to different 4,000 level classes and started on a project. And I think even to today, I have to fill out a plot summary sheet for a video game concept for my game writing class. So granted, it's all fun stuff, and I do love to write. So I'm not saying, like, oh, woe is me, my life is so hard. But I will say that I have not been getting good sleep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, at least it's interesting topics at the very least.
Yeah. At least it's stuff that I actually would maybe want to do further, like, after these classes are over. But yeah, definitely like probably Monday night, I'm just gonna hit a solid coma and just not wake up to like noon, maybe even 3 on a Tuesday. So I will be able to recharge and reinvigorate.
Are you skipping over Valentine's Day then in your coma?
Oh, probably. I mean, what am I going to do on Valentine's Day?
You could get just pick up a random hot date. I'm sure there's like an app or something that just like matches you with like literally a random person. Just like, hey.
Yeah, this is true.
Something.
If I really wanted to have a date on Valentine's Day, it wouldn't be hard to find. It would be very easy. In fact, just to dox myself real quick, but I even like matched with someone on Tinder the other day. And, we had a nice little back and forth. It was pretty decent, nothing like crazy. But like, yeah, if I did want to like actually go on a date on Monday, I guess I could. But why would I waste the time, money, and experience when I could
waste experience points?
Yeah, I guess so. Or when I could go to all of my classes, come home afterwards, and just sleep.
See, because one sounds romantic, and the other one sounds, let's just say, not romantic.
Yeah, it's not romantic per se. But maybe I don't know. Because like I feel that when it comes to like Valentine's Day, it's a like really good day. Whenever I've been dating people around that time, Valentine's Day did provide just like a lot of stress. Granted, I feel like I was definitely dating the wrong kind of people.
Yeah, that's fair.
For me, but it was definitely like if I didn't do anything extravagant, I would not stop hearing about how Sarah's boyfriend and Jamie's boyfriend did the most cutest thing.
Right.
For like the next three months. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just never really had a good time on Valentine's Day.
That's
fair.
But
the day after has always been great because that candy is cheap as hell.
Well, at least you get something good out of it.
Yeah. But what about you? I mean, I'm guessing you might have something planned on.
Yeah. I've got a nice like romantic date. I still have to like actually make my Valentine's Day gift, but that's okay. Otherwise, it'll be a nice time. We're gonna go on a picnic and stuff. So,
Oh, that's very cute.
yeah, the weather's supposed to be not bad. Um, but anyway, yeah, that's what I got for Valentine's Day. I'm back in Texas, and I miss New York water. That's the number one. Um,
Oh,
and I don't miss the cold yet. So,
nice.
yeah,
Not yet. I mean, granted, it was pretty chilly here yesterday.
yeah, it was all right. It was all right. Yeah, I'm already getting to that point where I'm just like, oh, you think this is cold? You think this is cold? Yeah,
Ugh,
yeah.
what a filthy New
A
Yorker.
Yankee.
A Yankee at our southern Texas border.
But yeah, all right. Let's get into the episode proper.
Yeah, so this month was the wonderful month of February, and the topic for this month was unrequited love, and the amazing words that our writers used in their stories were ruin, proposal, owner, and enhance.
Mm-hmm.
So the story we will be reading and talking about today is by TheSunCountsToo with Pillar.
Mm-hmm. Great username, by the way. I think it's really cool.
Yes.
Um, but okay, I'll just get into reading it.
Cool.
This is Pillar by TheSunCountsToo. I was 4 when I found my first love. A young and innocent girl with a penchant for the spotlight, it was only natural for her to be besotted with the thrill of the stage. Ballet had let young me express myself in a way I did not think was possible. The steady beat of the music, the little costumes that did much to enhance my beauty, and the best of all, the deafening cheers from an impressed audience. It gave me a sense of belonging, a purpose, and from that young age I knew what I had to live for. I gave my all for the stage. Like a loyal dog begging its owner for love and attention, I was desperate for grandiosity and validation, all of which it gave me. I was convinced ballet was for me, and that it was mine, and only mine, that no one else could have loved it in the way I did. No one else could experience it the way 8-year-old me did, when I performed in a courtyard filled with individuals older than I'd danced with. It was exhilarating. Ballet gave me life and purpose. And yet, it never failed to make me miserable in many other ways. I was young and naive, as most children were, and I thought that if I loved with all my heart, then that love would be returned to me by a tenfold. I didn't realize that my crippling sense of worth was due to me latching onto a passion that had never minded me. How was I supposed to know that my love was simultaneously the cause of my despair? I was 14 when I experienced my first heartbreak. It was not from the time a boy I had pined over told me I was fat, nor was it from the time I had failed to do a routine on stage. Those things had merely put me at pause, hesitant to continue, but never in a ruin. It was not raining on that day, the day the body was let to the ground. The sun had been smiling brightly, laughing at my grief as it said, "Silly girl, who's gonna love you now?" I quit ballet the next year. In the midst of rebuilding the pillar that had once held my being, I figured the true nature of my love. Ballet was cruel and unforgiving with the way it rejected my affections. Never sharp nor quick, but always calculating and deceitful. It kept me in its reins and stripped me of my skin, leaving me a pile of bones collecting dust. It took me a funeral to realize the one that truly loved me back. In the end, it wasn't the quick-paced ballet that keeps striding without waiting for a second to see if I'm running close behind. In the end, it wasn't the quick-paced ballet that keeps striding without waiting for a second to see if I'm running close behind. It had never truly loved me to begin with.
Well, all right. I really do love this story and how it you can tell so much based off of the persona's passion and how it is portrayed within the text. And I really do love the bits about just describing the driving beats of ballet, how this character has found so much purpose in it, purpose within their own life, and to not give a specific moment that seems to have sort of ruptured that their view on ballet and their own place within it. But it seemed like it was just a slow per progression of them realizing that even though they love it the most, that won't be returned to them. And I really do like relate to that feeling heavily. I feel that I even had the same feeling when it came to doing theater. So overall, I think that this story is really honed in on this emotional crux of this story. Yeah, I overall really loved it. I loved the prose. I really did like the language, and I really liked that we had a new writer this
Yeah,
week.
yeah, absolutely. Always welcome to have someone new. Yeah, I felt that the comparison of or the personification of ballet into
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, unrequited love, someone that doesn't love you back, as the theme of this month is, was really interesting. I felt I could have used a couple
Uh-huh.
more examples of, or just like maybe one good example of a time that it did not love back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, perhaps in the aftermath of this funeral, right, the loss of someone that did actually love them, um, maybe yeah, just the fact that like their instructors were unforgiving, demanding them to come back anyway, or that the dances like wouldn't let them express their grief or something like that. I think would have
Yeah.
been a
Or
mm-hmm,
yeah, or just like maybe eat maybe not even expressing specifically how about how what happened within ballet and changed their own views on ballet. But if they do want to hone in on this death in the family, maybe explain who died and like how that person could have fed into why they love ballet so much.
mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That maybe. Ooh, okay. Not at this point. We're editorializing a little bit too much. We're editing their story and putting our own voices in it. But it would be very cool if the reason that they loved ballet in the end was not because of the adoring crowds or whatever. It was actually because of like their mother always being there for them and it being a thing that they sort of like did together and had together, right?
Hmm.
Like if we had a scene or something of the mother always being in the audience, right? Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, and then she ends up going to the ballet again, and she's not in the audience, and there's kind of like no point, right? Uh,
Yeah.
just an idea. I don't. Yeah, if you did rewrite this, you do not have to follow everything to the letter, but yeah, just a cool thing. I think there's a lot here to work with. And
Some great stuff to work.
yeah, there's a good heart to it of that metaphor and the sort of pain that can be felt there with the unrequited love. Yeah, I'm glad that this was the prompt for the month because I feel like there's a lot of emotion to draw out from it.
Yeah, and I mean this story perfectly hits that concept on the head. I mean, unrequited love within arts is such a huge thing, you know, because I know that there are so many people, especially people within my own life, who have sort of went went down these paths, really following their own passion and sort of finding out that it didn't always shake out for them. So yeah, I feel that I definitely, as I said before, heavily relate to this story. But the pros here are great. I think that you have a lovely voice, especially when it comes to describing these like sort of abstract concepts, and especially linking that back to the main persona was done really well here. So yeah, I would love to see what you could bring to us next if you do decide to continue to write.
Yeah, I think this is exactly the sort of emotional center to try to bring out. I'm wondering if what the Sun Counts 2 was pulling from, right? If this was like a not necessarily like a personal experience, or I mean, it could have been because it is from first person. I don't know if this is nonfiction or not,
Hmm.
which would be interesting. Um, But even if it's not like an actual thing in their past of being into ballet, um, yeah, it would just be interesting to hear about where this sort of feeling came from. Like why, um, yeah, why did you write about this? I always find that a really interesting question to ask.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would love to know because uh, whatever inspiration you did have going into this, we can tell that that the story was at least inspired because there is passion in it, and we really love to see that on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, all right. I think that's about it. That's everything that I can probably say on the story. Do you have any final thoughts before we can move on to the listener subsection?
I don't, except just that I like the personification in general on the prose level.
Mm-hmm.
In like for example, the sun smiling brightly, laughing at my grief. I think was quite good. Which it's a common sentiment, but I think like a relatable one too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, thank you very much to the Sun Counts too for submitting your story. And all right, I think it's high time to roll on into our listener submitted story section. So thank you so much to No Goodbye, Ace of Sword, Just Stand 8460, and Morgan A for submitting your stories.
Mm-hmm.
And the first story we will be talking about is by No Goodbye with can't kill your darling if it never gets made.
Yeah, I quite like this story. So this
Yeah,
is
this is sort of like a meta joke.
yeah, it's a meta story. As I understand it, it's essentially um, it is a letter from a writer to an idea that this writer has had, and it's sort of almost addressed in a sort of in a love letter sort of way is what it feels like. That they were kind of in a depression, and this idea comes to them, a spark of life, and they try to execute it, but never turns out how they wanted to. Um, and they feel guilty about that. I think comes across.
Mm,
In that they feel guilty that afterwards they're going to, even though it didn't work, even though it says you're not ready, no, I'm not ready yet. My hands don't have the finesse to do your form justice. I'll ruin you and squander your potential, forever maiming you and leaving you resentful of me, and I'll resent you too. I think is a very relatable sentiment. But afterwards, they sort of cannibalize the piece, pick up the pieces of you that worked, um, use them to enhance my next creations. They'll be better than you in every way. I could even use your failure as the truth of my next masterpiece. And they ask the question to the idea. All you'll be is a carcass that my carrion hands will peck at. The wreckage that I will harvest the useful parts of and throw the rest in the junk. Do you really want to be that? And then we do get a response. One line of dialogue in response from the piece of art saying, yes, if a little part of me gets to be loved, so be it. And I thought that was a beautiful sentiment. And I think
hmm
very important for this this podcast sort of and its premise.
Yes, very, very much so. But yeah, I really feel for this story. I mean, definitely when it comes to creating something, and if it's just not working, you do have this sort of feelings where you want to get it out, but in its current state, you just worry on what it would say about you and your own ability and prowess. I mean, I know I've had so many different projects that I've dropped because I felt that I just couldn't get it yet, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, like this story overall is really great when on a prose level. It is sort of a stream of consciousness type story, which I do like. We get immediately implanted into the persona's head, and we just stay there, and we get to really understand like how this persona views their own art, and just yeah, we just come to not only understand this persona but also the concept and function of art itself, and just how difficult it is to not only create something, but to create something that you are proud of. Especially since the writer is their own worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that this story is really effective when it is talking about these like larger concepts, while also sort of bringing it back down to the personal level. So yeah, overall, I just really related to this story, and I think this story was definitely able to put into words a feeling that I felt plenty of times about my own art. So really great job.
Yeah, definitely very, very relatable. And I thought it was a very beautiful way to express this feeling,
Hmm.
because there's like a sadness to it, and I think it's also like a great way of dealing with that feeling, that sort of writer's block of just like knowing that you're not good enough to execute it right,
Hmm.
and to know that like yeah, your ideas don't die just because your first execution of it wasn't perfect, right? They'll be reincarnated over and over again
Hmm.
until
Used in other pieces.
yeah, until the best parts of it, you do end up using. And isn't that why you wrote it, right? For that best part in the first place? Even if it
Hmm.
wasn't the whole form that took place. I would love to see this explored in other metaphors too, actually. This makes me want to write some of my own stories with this sort of idea, right? Like I don't know, it's a character builds a robot and they take out the eye from the original thing and they put in a new one, right? There's a lot of different ways to use this. But yeah, really great just concept in general and the wonderful execution. No goodbye.
Hmm. Yeah, great, great. But all right, up next is by Ace of Sword with PYT.
Yeah, so this is part of a ongoing um, series of what's called Blood on the Dance Floor, which is great. Um, and it's from the perspective of a of Susan, who has, as we've been shown in earlier entries, she picks up any sort of blade, and it becomes her dance partner essentially, and she just kills everyone around her, no problem. Um, which is yeah, so we see this beautiful fighting. She just like slaughters a whole room full of people, and we see that something's off because none of these people seem to care about self-preservation. But she finally gets to the boss, so to speak, and he's guarded by this very good sword fighter, but a little bit like robotic. And they have like a good fight, but it's clear that Susan is going to win kind of without any problem. She does, um, and the boss guy, finally the last one left. We understand now that his power is like hypnotism or some other kind of mind control. And so after she kills the bodyguard, he says, "Ah, well, she was getting old anyway." His gaze focused back on Susan, smile growing wider. "About time I got an upgrade," which did not make you feel good, because it's clear that Susan's got to
Yeah.
get trapped. I want her to get free and not fall victim to this power, but I kind of don't see how she wouldn't, and I
Hmm.
feel like there's no reason why she shouldn't, right? Like I don't think she's earned not like the power. Like characters go and then they something like this happens to them, but through the power of friendship they break it. I have not seen anything
Yeah.
of Susan that implies that she should break from this power.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely. I feel that Susan is definitely just going to continue down the same path and allow the power to consume her.
right? She's just mostly a murderer, is what it seems like.
Yeah, mostly a murderer, but she has some pretty good flair.
She's
Which I
got
mean,
style.
she has style. She's what is it? Smoking sexy style,
I have no idea what you're
savage
referencing.
sexy. It's a DMC, Devil May Cry. I think it's smoking sexy style. It's when in the game you get like a like what 80 hit combo.
Okay.
Uh, and then also you have to use different weapons. I think the only way to get it is that you have to use five different weapons in a single combo chain. But that's
I
besides
love how
the
fucking
important
in depth your understanding of this is.
of DMC. Yes, DMC has a great combat system. But yeah, I mean this. My favorite part about this story is just really a lot of the action scenes. I love just sort of how graceful this combat seems, and how sort of like effortless Susan can cut through these people, and how like some of them aren't even being taken out by her. I think like the first two goons were taken out by a different goon with a like buckshot. And like I just think that this style of telling this action is pretty effective, because it sort of adds to the mysticism of this power that Susan is using. Um, and then I think after that we get some really great bits of world building. The world is, of course, it continues to open up, but we are sort of getting a sense that even though Susan has very effortlessly cut through maybe thousands of men, I do feel that eventually she's going to meet her match, maybe someone that can rival her dance steps.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I just think that this sort of series is a really great read. It is interesting. It is engaging. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this might end if you do continue to write on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like we got sort of a bad end thing going on here. I do wonder how she's going to get out of this. I know that like in another entry there was sort of a bunch of bounty hunters that were going to get her, but still. Oh, I wonder if this is one of the guys, one of the bounty hunters that was sort of supposed to be out after her.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I also wonder
Yeah,
if this
maybe
is.
maybe he's getting a upgrade to be able to go up against her.
Mm-hmm. I also do wonder if there's if this is connected to Ace of Swords' other superhero story series, the one that we read just the other day. It doesn't seem like so because they're not linked, but I don't know. It's interesting. They have two different sort of superpowered things. I think this one's a bit darker than the other one, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait a second. Sorry, I just went back. All right. So it says that the weapon that she's using is a champagne saber. What? Okay, I need to look what that is, because I was picturing, I think, something different. Champagne.
You're thinking a champagne bottle?
No, never mind. Oh, that's an actual
Yeah.
sword. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, I've seen this one.
I never have. Okay, cool.
It's just a big hand knife.
That makes sense.
Hmm?
I'm not going to explain what I was getting it mixed up with. I'm going to move on.
Getting it mixed up.
Oh, what's the next story?
Yes. so the next story is by Jeff Stan 8460 with Dare.
Yeah. Dare. Dare to believe.
Is there?
Da.
I was thinking of the Gorilla song.
Oh, I was thinking of the song from the 1986 Transformers movie, Dare.
Oh,
The one that they play several times in the movie?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like their only licensed song.
No, they have plenty of licensed songs. They have Instruments of
They have, like,
Destruction.
three.
They had The
They have
Touch by
three.
Stan Bush. They had Dare to Be
Now,
Stupid
that
by
one's a
Weird
good-
Al Yankovic. Like,
I think the Touch is the best of that
Every-
that quadrilogy of songs.
every song on the 1986 Transformers movie soundtrack is a banger. Every single one. Including the non-licensed like background music, like they're all like industrial like techno shit. It's great. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's a great film. It's a great film.
thank
All
you,
right, it's
thank
great.
you. I watched it again for fun the other day. It's still good. It's still good. I mean, like
Nice,
bad,
nice.
but also good. You know.
Well, yeah, it's goofy '90s action. Also, just to let you know, my headphone is getting low on bat life, so if I cut out, that's what happened.
Okay.
Cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so this story by Just Stand 8460 is called Dare, as you said. So Just Stand, it looks like they had this idea. They talk about how they wrote it for a while, but it's about these two boys, and we sort of get their friendship is very significant and they're very close. But eventually they go on this adventure to the abandoned oil refinery. And they're enjoying themselves, but eventually Robbie, our main character, dares AJ to basically run across this one big thing of metal. And halfway through, AJ's leg goes through the old rusted metal, scrapes of his leg really bad, and then he falls through, and it looks like he's knocked unconscious for a second. Robbie runs and goes and gets help, but it takes like a whole hour to get there, and the whole time AJ's been alone. And while AJ's in the hospital, Robbie's not allowed to visit. And in the aftermath, their friendship sort of drifts apart, and it's this the sad moment of like, they wish that they didn't make that dare, but those kinds of like mistakes, the ones that cost you friendships, they do teach you like important lessons. Like for example, don't dare your friend to run across a bunch of rusted metal, because then it might break.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. This story reminded me a lot of I forgot the technical term, but it's a lot of like kids on kids on bike stories. Um, where like the whole town seems to be its like own character, and there are just so many different possibly like interesting things for these kids to get into. But I really did love the like vibe of the beginning of this story. How it seems very close, very intimate when it comes to these characters and their lives, on how they would spend the whole day out in the summer, how they were right here for like a free snacks, and then they'll go in and look for treasure. It reminded me a lot of just those idyllic childhood days in the summer, which I really love how the story was able to bring that across in the beginning before we get to the main scene of them breaking into this sort of like this like do not trespass area, and the kid getting hurt. And I don't know, like overall, I just really love this story and how it decides to slowly lead us into the ending, and how we can come to understand maybe why the mother didn't want the kid to see her child, because I feel like my mom would probably do the same thing if I had to get stitches and like get like surgery and all that. But yeah, overall, this is a really solid story. It has a great voice, and it takes us on a really grounded and really controlled story. So really great job.
Yeah, it's too bad that I wonder how much AJ didn't want to see his friend, right? And I wonder how much that was a
Mm.
factor. And it's a little too bad that their friendship couldn't recover afterwards, even though it wasn't really any of their faults. And
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like it was probably more of like AJ's mother than AJ
It
himself,
could
right?
be, it could be. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard to know. But regardless, yeah, I thought it was a great exploration of that sort of friendship, and I do agree that the slow rolling out of all those details, I think, definitely increased the like depth of that the friendship and that connection that we were feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then as that sort of gets like ruined, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
destroyed even.
yeah, and just Stan talks about how they were really, trying to hold on to those ideas of, does it serve the plot, does it enhance the enjoyment of the read as they were writing, and I'm really glad that it seems like that helped them.
Yeah, and it definitely did. I mean, like everything within this story had a purpose, whether it was building towards character or building towards plot. So yeah, definitely keeping those questions in mind. I can tell because this story is really tight and it's really solid. So yeah, yeah, really great thinking, and thank you for submitting your story to Just Stand 8460.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And our final story for this week is by Morgan Le A with an untitled story.
Mm-hmm. Um, So this is an interesting. Yeah, this is a very interesting setting. I think. Um, we are. I think we're underground. But the significant thing is that from the sky there seems to be this rain that constantly deposits like minerals, right? Um, and so there's a lot of stalactites and or stalagmites. I don't know which ones. I think it's tights that are holding up to the top because they hold tight to the ceiling. Um, the mnemonic was not very good for me to remember it.
Mm.
But we see like a man who is he's sleeping on the surface, and so stone and is crust like half his face. He's got the scourge, is what it's called, and then I'd like how it's shown. We see her look at her hands as the droplets deposits grains of minerals. Um, but she goes underground, and there's a market there, and she decides to steal. That's what she's supposed to do. That's what she's here for. It seems like to um, support herself. And she ends up stealing this like beautifully crafted rose from this small family. Either the implication I think is like that one of the kids made it, perhaps, or like one of the parents and clearly like poured sort of their love for the city into making this rose out of glass. And she feels terribly guilty about it. But yeah, she steals it. One of the little kids spots her and shouts out, but she's able to get away, and she gets on the surface just in time for that man from before to see her and say, "Silver?" As we see that she has like silver hair, and we're not entirely sure what's significant about that, but it's definitely interesting. And she gives the man a golden coin, which also raises more questions before leaving. So yeah, we get a great snapshot of like this character's life and this city that she lives in.
Yeah, definitely. And this story makes you makes raises a lot of questions about just who this character is. I mean, she seems to. I mean, in the comments I saw where someone said undercover, and that's the vibe that I'm definitely getting. And she definitely has something going on for her just to be able to hand out golden coins, uh, and like make that mean something. But overall, I just really love the senses that are being played with here. How we get a nice little snapshot of this sort of like underground market, of this park, of this old of this old man watching. And I think that all of that really adds to the like overall world building, to where we get a solid sense of where we are. And yeah, I just really enjoy the ending, and how there is that moment where she seems to be caught, um, but then she sort of plays it off. So overall, I mean, this story definitely raises a lot of good questions that gets me even more interested on the actual events of this story, and wondering if it's leading to something larger. Is this in the middle of her journey? Is it towards the end, the beginning? But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed reading this one.
Yeah, I with the hair, I was wondering actually if by him asking silver, if like
Mm-hmm.
does is her
If that was a
hair
thing.
is her hair made of silver? Maybe not just the color.
Yeah.
But like yeah,
Ooh.
this is a city where there's like all these weird like minerals and stuff. And so maybe there's something like that going on, which I thought was a cool idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, this story is full of those like really cool ideas. So yeah, I mean, if you want to keep on working on this, I would be more than welcome to get a bit more depth in this world, and in these characters. Um,
Yeah, I
but
like
all right.
the guilt that
Yeah.
she's
Oh, sorry.
facing for the this thing that she's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 definitely. Brawler, I think it's high time to say thank you to everyone who left comments. So thank you very much to Ace of Sword, Morgan La A, Just Stand 8460, Walker by Faith, and and the Sun Counts Too. Thank you so much for leaving comments not only under your own story but under someone else's.
Yeah, it was always really, really nice to see such in-depth discussion. I saw like back and forths going on as people were asking questions and people answering. It's one of the coolest things I think is just when like someone comments on the story, the author comments to that comment, and then someone else entirely unrelated to that initial conversation also joins in and adds their 2 cents. I think you guys are doing a really great job in having those talks, and I appreciate you having them. And so, if you want to be like all these wonderful writers who left their stories... Oh, actually, no, we have to thank them, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
So we've already thanked those who left comments, but let's just give one more last thank you to everyone, every single last soul who submitted their story to do the right thing. So, thank you very much, too. No goodbye.
And thank you, TheSunCountsToo. Thanks for joining us, by the way.
Thank you. And thank you to Ace of Sword.
Thank you, JustStand8460.
And thank you to Morgan LaA. Thank you so much for writing in this week. If you want to be like all of these wonderful writers and submit your story to do the right thing, you can do that by going to Reddit at /r/do the right thing. All you have to do is sit down for 30 minutes and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 randomly generated words.
You can see the words as soon as they come out by following us on Twitter at RightThingCast. That's where you would see announcements like that this episode is going to be 1 day late due to some technical stuff. I tweeted that there was technical difficulties, so I'm like, what's the continuity for that, so I don't get caught in a lie that there wasn't technical difficulties. Yeah. Like, would I know? Would I know?
What is the public reason?
yeah. Would I know that this episode is going to be a day late according to the narrative that I spun? I don't know.
Yes. Well, you also just doxed yourself.
Did I? Was it?
So we all know that you lied.
I am a liar.
Liar.
Pants on fire. Yeah.
Hanging from a telephone wire.
Oh, is that how the saying goes?
It's something like that. It's because there's I think like 2 more lines, but I only know one of them.
Interesting. Where was I?
Oh yes, you were saying how this episode is going to be a day late. So sorry, so sad. But then you were also gonna talk to us about what's happening in Doof.
Yeah, there's a ton going on at Doof Media, and I would like to mention how The View from Halfway Down, our BoJack Horseman analysis podcast that I'm doing with Sebastian, who was a guest on last week's episode, is ongoing. Our 2nd episode released last week. We're going on our 3rd this week. I'm so excited to talk about it. I don't know. I'm just having a great time with it, and just happy about it. Yeah, we're already doing the Doof thing where our episodes are climbing in length. Our first episode, which it was 50 minutes long, and we thought that was already kind of long for a 20-minute episode, and then we spent an hour and a half on the 2nd episode for some reason. I think we'll try to keep it under an hour.
Hopefully.
Yeah. We just talked a little bit too much about Chuck E. Cheese, so.
I mean, hey, there's a lot to say about Chuck E. Cheese.
About the Chuck.
The big buck.
The big buck Chuck. But we have a bunch else going on at Doof Media. Actually, this week on the Doofcast, I am planning to guest on it as we talk about the French Dispatch. So that's one thing that I'm looking forward to. I think Sebastian might join me on that as well. But yeah, that is all I have, Jarvis.
That is spantabulous. And that also lets me know that I think it's time to talk about next week's words.
That's right. What are they, Ricky Gervais?
Yes. So, the words for next week are Grimace, Spring, Filter, and Guess.
Grimace. That's how the SpongeBob. The SpongeBob? What the fuck? Why did I say SpongeBob? I meant McDonald's. Why are those associated to me? What the fuck?
Because they're both things from your childhood.
They also did sell SpongeBob toys at McDonald's. So,
Grimace is the giant purple thing.
Yeah, Grimace is a giant purple thing. Why did they name him Grimace? I will never understand.
Because he's always smiling.
But what? That's not what a
Yeah,
grimace
a nice
is.
little grimace.
What? Grimace is like a
Yeah, it's
bad
just like,
smile.
yeah, it's like a seductive. Hold on,
What? No, it's
let me
not.
look up grimace.
Grimace is
See
like is
what
like
I an ugly, twisted expression on a person's face,
yes.
typically expressing disgust, pain, or weary
Yeah,
amusement.
you grimace whenever like someone else around you gets hurt painfully or it does something
Yeah,
embarrassing.
but also maybe that's why his name is Grimace because McDonald's have those playhouses, and when a kid gets hurt, guess who goes up to help him but Grimace?
I just not no. I deny it. No.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good enough for me.
Grimace goes up with his big pulsating purple fingers, and
Why are
then
his
he and then
fingers
he and then he
pulsating?
and then he reaches a hand out to the little Tot's hair and says, "Hey, little kid, did you get hurt today?"
And then the kid has to say no.
Yeah, because if you say yes, Grimace will open his giant gaping maw and show four deep lights that are as bright as the sun. And if you stare for too long, you too will be turned into a grimace.
Into a grimace.
Yes,
Okay,
a big grimace.
great, cool. I love that for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next one is spring. So that is one,
Mm-hmm.
the season of growth and renewal that comes after
Ah,
winter.
yes.
But it is also the name for a coiled piece of metal that,
Uh-huh.
when compressed, uh, because of its structure, creates
It can hold weight.
force that
Mm-hmm.
pushes outwards, and so things can be spring loaded. Pogo sticks work off of springs, and also
Yep.
a spring
Beds work off of springs.
is a where fresh water comes out of the ground. I think
Yes, spring water.
exactly.
Nice.
So a lot of options there.
Yeah.
Um,
Filter.
you could be a spring chicken. I also want to add that, which
Mm.
is, I think, just like a fresh new chicken that was born in the spring. I think I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's like waking up early, feeling light and bubbly.
mhm. But okay, filter, which is a some sort of um, thing that one material passes through it, and various small
Mm-hmm.
things, impurities, or um, I'm trying to find a generic enough words that apply to all the circumstances. But those things are caught, and so that the material that comes out the other end is more like purified. Usually, it's something that is working off of liquids or gases,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or more like conceptual things, I guess.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, when you like distill something,
mhm.
that's a form of filtering.
You can filter your own words, right?
Yes.
Speaking and then catching yourself so you don't say every thought that comes through.
Yes, which most people should try and filter their words more.
hmm
Hmm.
I think that is most of them. Everything else is just an
Yeah.
example of a filter, like a coffee filter or something.
Yeah. And then the final one is guess. Guess is a educated hypothesis one has on a certain subject. So you can guess what your friend is holding. Guess is also a clothing brand. Um, what else is? I think that's all for guess, right?
I think so. I wonder what the relationship of the word guess and guest is.
Guess and guests.
Yeah,
Well, it they both start with the "ge"
they
sound,
do.
right?
They do.
Um, and maybe if we look up its Germanic origin, that GUE, let's see. Hmm, no one knows.
Oh, good. Thank you.
But yeah, maybe there is some sort of linking tissue because guessing is to guess to question something, and maybe when a guest comes over,
You gotta guess who it is?
you got to guess who it is, but
I guess. This is bad. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Well. Since we're guessing so much, why don't you make a guess on what your story is going to be next week?
What a wonderful suggestion, Jarvis. So, I, I, I guess I will write a story about this spring that has popped out of the ground, and there was a magical nymph that was in it. And she was having a good time, except that a bunch of really gross stuff got into her spring. Just a lot of people were bathing upstream, and they got a lot of sweat in there. There's just so much sweat in her spring water. And so she grimaced because she didn't like being made of sweat, essentially. And this one person came and she was like, "Hey, can you help me and like filter out the sweat that's going on in here?" And the person was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And so they just drank up all of the water, all of it, and then they spit it back out, but they kept the sweat inside of them. And but then the problem was that their spit got in it, which was an issue. And so she asked the next person to do it, and they were like, "Ew, that's all spit. I'm not messing with that. Why are you a spit spirit? That's weird." And they left her alone, and she just kind of learned to live with it. And that's why you don't ask for help.
Okay.
Yeah. Moral of the story.
Moral of the story: never ask for help. Do your own thing. Yes. The story I am going to be writing next week is at 11:58 p.m. on October 12th. Spencer Shasta and his four buddies,
Shasta.
Matt, Daniel, and Tyler, left
Why is that
the
funny to
Chuck
me?
E. Cheese parking lot well into the PM. Their plan was working perfectly well. They walked into Chuck E. Cheese in the wee hours of the morning and decided to eat their pizza and drink their beer, trying so hard to not look too awkward in the back corner. They were all spring chickens, as the Chuck E. Cheese mascot said, "It's time to go. It's getting late and we're gonna close." But they all decided to hide in the bathroom until after close so that they can finally beat the high school on DDR 13. So, so
Okay.
uh, so that night, as as Tyler was spinning mad fucking moves on DDR 13, and Daniel was looking through his favorite Snapchat filter, the main guy Spencer decided to go in to the back and look at the Chuck E. Cheese mascot at 12 a.m.
Uh-huh.
midnight,
Okay.
October
Cool.
13th on the dot. As soon as Spencer walked into the back
October
room,
13th, Halloween.
he saw it. He saw Chuck E. Cheese without a body in it, but it was standing with a big purple grimace on its mouth. Chuck E. Cheese was laughing, an evil, bellowy, gross laugh.
Okay.
Chucky, your cheese. And then he lunged at him. Out front, Tyler finished playing DDR. He was actually pretty fucking trash at it, so he didn't get the high score. And then him and his friends heard a huge clutter from the back, clunk, and then
This is
they
really
could only
in-depth.
guess
It's good.
what had happened. So the three friends walked to the back, and then they opened the door, and then inside they saw something that they never thought they would ever see before. It was their best friend Spencer, strung about the room. His
Jesus.
arms were in the corners. His head was under the lockers, and his favorite
God.
cock ring
Why?
over.
Why?
It was over Chuck E. Cheese's
Why is that a
finger.
detail?
And then
Why was he wearing it?
And then Chuck E. Cheese gave one last big smile. should have should have left when you had the chance. And then from behind him, Chica and Freddy closed the door, and they were locked in with Chuck E. Cheese.
Who? Who are the Chica and Freddy?
Have you not seen Five Nights at Freddy's?
No, I've never played that. I'm not a fucking.
Okay.
Ugh.
You're not a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is my story on Unrequited Love for next week.
I guess it was.
Yes.
So when you edit this, can you do the right thing and cut like most of that out?
I will definitely try to do the right thing, and I'll make sure to add spooky, creepy.
Okay, well if you do that, yeah, then it's